It's now a year and a half since RAFM and Corey Makeyan walked off after a night out with colleagues in Bury St Edmunds. He was captured on CCTV in the early hours of September the 24th, 2016, walking into a bin loading bay. Since then, not a trace of him has been found. Police, who spent £2.1 million looking for him, scoured a landfill site after his phone was tracked, taking the same route as a bin lorry to there from the loading bay, but to no avail. Now they say there are no realistic lines of inquiry left, although the case remains open. Well, we can speak now to Corey's mum, Nicola, and his brothers, Darroch and Makeyan. In the first interview since the police told you they were moving his case to the cold case unit instead, what was your response when you found out?
We've obviously all known for a little while now that they were going to be moving it to a cold case. I understand the practical side of that, and I don't particularly have an issue. I understand that is going to happen eventually. I have a bit of an issue around procedurally how that's happened. I know that the police are saying that they have done everything and followed all lines of inquiry, and that may genuinely be the case. However, they've certainly not updated us with those details yet, and there are still major lines of inquiry that we've not been given any kind of explanation as to what's happened. So we do have concerns surrounding that.
And I should point out to our viewers that you are a policewoman.
I am.
So you know what
with Police Scotland, though, not down south.
But you know what you're talking about. What more could the police be doing, do you feel?
It's not really what they're doing, it's what they've done as well and how it's been approached with things. Just we sat with the officers in the investigation, had a meeting with them speaking about a new vehicle that had came to light to us. We hadn't been told about it, and the officers within the investigation that were there, they had only found out a week and a half ago about it, so they've not even communicated within themselves about it, let alone tell us about it, and it's a year and a half on. And it's just simple things like that, one after another, that genuinely just puts doubt in my mind about everything.
Can you talk to us about what the last, if you can, put into words, what the last 18 months have been like for you as a family?
You can't sum that up.
Trying to condense, like there have been some pretty low lows and some, like again, like how many times because of what's happened, the people that we've met, the generosity of people, how much passion, how much people care about. Really, at the beginning of all this, I could never have been told that how far Corey could have stretched to everyone in the country, even worldwide, of people getting in contact, giving their sympathies, offering their time, the help. It's incredible.
Can you tell us, Nicola, about the particular aspects of the police investigation you're not happy with?
If I was to, I've said publicly before, there are things that haven't been done, but I think now comes the time that I've got to actually say what those things are. So the police are quite convinced that Corey has gone into a bin and ended up in the landfill.
And this is based on CCTV footage?
That's not why they think he's gone to the landfill. They have two pieces of evidence, and that is a bin weight of 116 kilograms of a bin that was picked up into the area that Corey was seen going into that night, and that Corey's phone has tracked the same directional path of the lorry up to a certain point, not to the landfill, but to about 12 miles away that evening. So that's the only two pieces of evidence they have. Everything else is because of the lack of any other evidence that they've tried to find. Again, I can understand why this is a positive line of inquiry that they do have to exhaust, but the police keep explaining to people about this raw data they have that confirms the weight of the bin. I've looked at this raw data only a few weeks ago, and the story that the police have been told is that the bin lorry took a particular pattern. It was preloaded, then certain weight was picked up one after the other. That is not what this raw data shows. So there is an inconsistency there, and it means that raw data has either been manipulated or somebody's lying about what they've told the police.
Now, you have put this to them.
Yes.
What's the response been?
They've come back after a few weeks of looking into it and said, nobody can explain to us why that's happened, and sometimes we just don't get answers. Now, I'm sorry, that's not good enough. When it's something that they have been prepared to spend £2 million investigating and searching a landfill, they should be finding the person that can give them those answers. They should be arresting people and talking to them under caution, if that's what's required to be able to get that information. But you don't just stop because it's too difficult to try and find an answer. Their data does not match with the story that they've been given. That is a fundamental problem.
I'll just read out a comment from Detective Superintendent Casey Elliott, who said, "It's extremely disappointing because they're not here. It's extremely disappointing that we haven't been able to find Corrie. I can only imagine the strain Corrie's family have been under over the past 18 months, and I thank them for their patience and understanding. Whilst the investigation has drawn to a natural conclusion, we will continue to work with the family to provide answers to their questions and to help them understand what may have happened. Since Corrie disappeared, police have been exploring all proportionate and relevant lines of inquiry. We have now reached a point where we are unable to make any further progress and have gone as far as we realistically can with the information we have. If any new credible and proportionate inquiries relating to Corrie's disappearance emerge, we will pursue them." What's your response to that?
Well, it seems quite absurd that they would turn something over to a cold case, saying that they've done all they can, when the last time I spoke to the SIOs of this case just a few weeks ago, I brought things to their attention that they've known about for a substantial period of time, but they'd never noticed. And every time I've spoken to them, because I ask questions about the information they've given me, it then leads them to carrying out more inquiry. What I would like to say, though, and I would really like to take the opportunity to clarify one point, is the police have done a massive amount of work. We are really grateful for everything that they have done. I don't want to come on here and just criticise the police, and it may be that we get to the same point as they are, but they've turned this over to a cold case before they have looked at all the information. I know that things were rushed. They weren't supposed to be going out to the press with this release. Unfortunately, the press got hold of it, and that's why it happened. There was a story that went out saying that Corrie had committed suicide and he was in a bin.
The two lines where police said that he was known to sleep in rubbish, and the second line was about the possibility of him taking his own life on finding out that his girlfriend was pregnant.
And that's the thing, is everything does have to be looked into of anything that could have happened, but with committing suicide, for him getting put out of the nightclub, not by his choice, to then sleeping for an hour and a half, to then knowing the one bin that got picked up that night, and to know that it's the type of bin that does compress, to know that you would die if you were to go into that. For all them things to happen, to say that you would be committing suicide, it's just a joke. It's not a thought-through thing.
And what about the line about his girlfriend being pregnant?
So factually, I would just like to correct that. I did mean to bring my phone here to be able to read out something that I've got from the police. Firstly, if anybody from the media wishes to contact the police, they will confirm this. Corrie was not depressed or on antidepressant medication. He had resumed back to work full-time. Now, I know that somebody's mental health and their state of mind could change at any time, but there was nothing, no drugs, no alcohol, no debt, nothing to predispose him to being depressed. That is a fact. The police have confirmed that and will confirm that again. Second part is this assumption that Corrie knew his girlfriend was pregnant and that this had been confirmed. Again, I have got a text message from the police saying that if they are asked by the media, the statement they will be making, because they have now investigated it because I've insisted, is that Corrie may have known that April may have been pregnant, but this was not confirmed until April came back from America, which was weeks after Corrie went missing. So April did not know, her doctor did not know, nobody knew. She had been unwell and she thought it was a possibility. And that was it. It was a telephone, a text conversation when she was abroad in America, saying that she thought it might be a possibility.
Corrie's biological father has been speaking to the press, as
Yeah.
you know. How did you feel when he said, or you read, that he'd said to a newspaper that Corrie may have taken his own life, and that he knew that his girlfriend was pregnant?
I have always, and we have always deliberately never spoken about Martin publicly. That has and I'm quite happy to answer it. We've just never done it because it has no relevance to finding
Doesn't
Corrie.
help bring Corrie back.
Again, it's all about Corrie. Any information like so far, the relationship that myself and Darroch and even Corrie had with him has nothing to do with actually finding Corrie. Maybe one day there might be conversations about it, but right now our focus is on Corrie. We only feel that now, after the comments that have been made, clarification has to be done, because the simple case of saying that Corrie committed suicide is appalling. That how the language of the statement has been put out, that is it possible that this little girl that hasn't asked for this situation in years to come is going to look up, we're in the day of age of internet, of that being able to just search up.
Corrie's daughter.
She's going to read that one day with no context. Potentially people younger and younger are reading up things quite quickly up on the internet. She'll have no context of the information of saying, like, what does that mean? Is it possible that my dad did not want me? Was he pushed that far? It's atrocious. I'm appalled.
Well, this has
by
been your opportunity to put your side across.
And that's and we just won't ever discuss Martin again, or any comments that he makes, because it's not helpful to the investigation. The facts are, Corrie did not know, it had not been confirmed, and he was not depressed. There was nothing in his medical records to suggest it. And as Darroch said, it is ridiculous to say that you are going to think of committing suicide by putting yourself in a bin, and that's going to be picked up that night. What's important, and the only thing that we should ever have to be talking about, is what can be done to try and find Corrie, because we will not give up until we have got reasonable answers to reasonable inquiries. That's it. It's not about just going on for the sake of it. It is just making sure that our questions have been answered and they have carried out all reasonable lines of inquiry.
Nicola, Darroch, Makeyan, thank you so much for coming in, and thank you for speaking to us this morning.
Thank you.
Coming up after 10 o'clock.